Hi and welcome to not another repaint video. This is the familiar for Doc Martens and I named her Gear. Gear is the third familiar to my Monopoly dolls and I made her a steampunk fox in a shoebox. Summer is changing into autumn soon, so the colors fit pretty nicely. Gear will be up on Patreon in 48 hours. I'll as usual add a question and the first person who answers the question correctly will be the new owner. Pen and Tim have moved to their new homes and I am so excited to send off Gear. You know, it's a bittersweet feeling, but I know she's going to a good home. Is it weird that I'm speaking about the familiars as if they're living creatures? Oh well. If you want your own familiar, I have actually added a listing on Etsy where you can get your custom made one. I love making these and I'd love to make them for humans too, so there it is if anyone would want their own. 3 more familiars to make in this Monopoly series. Next is the battleship and I'm still debating what animal to combine with a theme. How about a parrot? Or not? I'm not sure. I'll make the doll first and think later. Ah yes, I've bought an insane amount of various glitter glue in all kinds of colors, so that's my new thing at the moment. Sparkle sparkle. I made 2 different eyes like on Doc Martens, but I was not too fond of the blue one in the end and instead used a printed one. After painting them I sealed them with Liquitex gloss varnish, then I left it to dry, used another blob of the same medium and added the cabochon. And well, yes, I'm your random alternative 30-year-old goth, but I use My Little Pony band-aids. Life is too short for boring band-aids. After drying them overnight, I cut them out. To sculpt the faceplate I used Living Doll Clay by Super Sculpey. I first laid the base, then I add the eyes before I continue with details. I realized that the same way of sculpting Tim, the mouse fairy, would work well with Gear the fox, so I created a muzzle before adding the nose. I proceed with adding eyelids and smoothen it out. At this point I realized that I disliked the blue eye, so I massacred it, replaced it and then finished the faceplate off camera. This is my first familiar that I tried filming for TikTok simultaneously, so I was a bit distracted. Doing something new always feels a bit weird in the beginning. With that being said, I'm on TikTok now, sharing these in shorter videos, so feel free to follow me there. I don't know. After baking all the pieces, I peeled them off the form. Then I made the goggles almost the same way that I made Doc Martens mask, UV resin, faux leather and a pretty fair amount of super glue. If you want a more detailed description of how I made them, please head over to the boot video. I made these tiny magnifying spectacle things out of earring hooks, then gave them the glass by using clear nail polish. While those dried, I added the leather to the resin glasses. To protect them I glossed with more nail polish. After that had dried I could add the spectacles. I ended up not adding a headband to the goggles since they fit so snug anyway. With the goggles finished I buffed the pieces with sandpaper before moving on to creating a body. It is surprisingly hard finding orange faux fur fabric, but I finally found some on Amazon and it was perfect for this purpose. I combined it with white lamb fur fabric and used both my standard body pattern and the back pattern I used on Nut. Here I cut the fur on the edges to make it easier to sew. I wanted her to have a white stomach and the rest orange, so I sewed those together, then the dart and finally the whole body. Then she was ready for her cutter pin joint. I'll refer to earlier familiar videos to see how to do this. After pushing it through both head and body, I bend the legs and use pliers to set them. I add some stuffing into the body before sewing around the edge of the headpiece with running stitches, then I put some filling into that before I seal it. Then I close the seam on the side of the body and it is then finished. Almost. She needed a pair of ears. Usually I paint the faceplate before attaching it, but this time I glued it on first. I don't remember why though, it was probably to be able to position the ears better. Those I sewed on. Moving to the airbrush station, I start with off-white. These paints were the ones that came with the airbrush. I used them because it had a red one, which I don't have in my schminke set, and I wanted to get a nice orange. The paint works fine, it just takes a lot longer to dry. Finally, I finish it all off with a coat of Liquitex matte varnish. That doesn't show though, so I do not include it in the video. Again, I almost forgot about the whiskers. This time though, I used a needle instead of a drill to make the cavities. It worked a lot better. Then I just glued some strands from the brush onto the faceplate. Before the paint could dry completely, I formed the top of the ears into tufts. So cute. Then I painted the toe beans with some pink acrylics. Behold, my glitter glue! I told you it was an insane amount. I used the pink and orange ones, sparkle sparkle. I made a gear out of UV resin. Again, if you want a more detailed how-to, go to my boot video. I painted it with gold before laying it on the side to dry completely. Then I painted a similar gear pattern on the faceplate using all my gold and Coliro paints. Finally, I glued the gear onto the forehead before moving on to the limbs. Those get attached with needles and thread. I've actually ordered those bent needles and we'll see if they make the process easier. The arms broke and I had to glue them back together at the end, which was fine. I also made a bottle with gears and glitter and beads for her to hold. I painted the white fabric parts on the goggles with leather brown by the army painter, then I got some golden nail polish, partially for sparkles and partially for sticking better to the faceplate. Then I finished everything with some Tamiya gloss varnish on the glitter glue to make it stick better. Then things went overkill. I decided that I wanted to make a shoebox, so I made a mini shoebox template, so now I can make shoeboxes with this. Feels really silly, but you never know when it might come in hand. Honestly, I think I made this because I didn't want to stack firewood. Then, after making the template, I made a box out of thick paper. To close it properly, I gave it eyelets. I also decorated it with some leather, then I went nuts with my clear stamps. The ribbons got some beads that were left from making the spectacles, then I sewed a pillow and added that and another ribbon on the bottom of the box. Finally, I added gear into it, but of course she is detachable. That was it for now. It was not my usual way of doing a familiar, but the result was really cute. This weekend I'm uploading the battleship. I think it's going to be awesome. There will be some pirate elements, an anchor of course, and I have some cool plans for the stand. I want to give a special thanks to my Patreons. I hope you like gear. As I said earlier, I'll post in 48 hours. I'm not going to do much more talking, so let's look at the result. Little gear in a little shoebox. Such a cutie. I love the big ears and the bright orange color of the fur. I hope you enjoyed watching the process. I sure had a blast making her. Have a nice day or, evening, depending on when you're watching this. Until next time, bye!